Woods Runner, Chapter 9. Strange dreams, visions of unreality. Endless screams that started with low grunts and became more and more shrill until they cut his soul. Dreams of his mother, dressed all in buckskins, ladling some kind of thick stew with a wooden spoon into a wooden bowl, chewing tobacco and spitting off to the side while she held the bowl out, shaking her head. He ain't anything near right yet. She spit her wad of tobacco juice out again. Brain scrambled to hell and gone. Then a trap door came down, a lid something thick and dark, and there was no light at all, just blessed darkness. And sleep, 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 and more screams. No sense of timing, no sense of time. Once he tried to remember his name and fought with it for a minute or a day or a week or 10 years, he couldn't tell. More dreams scattered. His mother, this time wrapped in a blanket with stringy black hair hanging down at the sides of her head while she chewed an obnoxious cud. She disgorged it, slapped it on his head, and tied it on with a filthy rag, spitting more tobacco juice out and nodding. Got to get the pizen out or she's going to rot on him. It was as if his eyes never really opened, as if he saw everything through closed lids, and the images and swirled through his mind were so mixed they became a blur. Night, day, light and darkness seemed to flop and flow over each other. Pictures would stick out for a moment and then go. A horse, then a cow, then his mother leaning down, still in the dirty blanket, greasy black hair hanging down the sides of her head, raising the poultice and grinning, spitting more tobacco juice. Coming clean now, she said. Clear pus. Looks clean as spring water. All the yeller gone. And then bouncing, incredible rough bouncing, as if someone were jumping on a bed while he was trying to sleep. He would pass out in pain, rolling waves of pain. Finally, a picture stopped, just stopped in front of his eyes, in front of his mind, locked in. It was dark or night, and he was in some kind of wooden frame lying on the ground, a fire burning nearby. When he opened his eyes wide, the light from the fire seemed to shove a lance into the middle of his head. He grunted in pain, closed his eyes, and waited for the rolling pictures to begin again. When they didn't, he opened his eyes, but only in a slit. The image was the same, a bed frame of some kind, a fire, and this time less pain from the light. As he watched, an arm came out of nowhere and put a piece of wood on the fire, and then withdrew. He tried to move his head and see where the arm went, but the pain was so intense he nearly lost consciousness. He lay back and closed his eyes, opened them again when the pain receded. Where? Who? The words pealed in his mind like a bell, echoing around inside his head. A figure appeared next to the fire, not his mother, but a young man with stringy black hair and a cheek full of tobacco juice. He leaned down, his face close to Samuel's. You there, righteous? Or you going away again? I'm here. Who are you? John Cooper. But most call me Coop. Where? Long story that. We'd be about 12 miles from where you got that egg on your head. 12 miles in distance more that in time. When? I don't remember. Some Native Americans. I think I shot one and then nothing. Why did I shoot? Can't tell. We'd come on these Iroquois and some redcoats. We'd already seen what they took and done back at Miller's Crossing, so we snuck up proper and took them on. I remember you were shooting. You say are the others? Or where are the others? Asleep. I'm the night watch tonight. Plus, I've been doctoring you, and I thought you might lose your light during the night. You've been breathing like an old pump. I guess you was just sucking air hard because you didn't die. Of course, it could still happen. I had a cousin got kicked in the head by a mule. They's fractious mules. He lived for a nigh or 2 months before he lost his light. Never talked, none except now and again, a kind of moan, like somebody stepping on a duck. Then he just up and died. Samuel closed his eyes, felt a spinning. Then, as if fog were lifted, it came back. I was tracking Ma and Pa. The redcoats, the Indians, hit our place while I was looking for a bear. They killed most everybody, but took my parents and a few other captives. Coop nodded. We saw them all around the fire, ropes tying them together. What happened to them? Coop shrugged. Wasn't much of a fight. We fired once, reloaded, laid around another round, and they ran. Them redcoats had wagons already hooked up, and they had a pile of captives in the wagon and lit out. We couldn't shoot no more for fear of hitting the captives. Native Americans just drifted away like smoke. That would have been that, except one of them put a musket ball in Paul. It was in his gut, awful place. That. We knew he was going to die. Ain't nobody come back from a belly wound and kept waiting for it, but he made it 4 days. He gave up his light last night. No, night before. Died screaming. It was bad. Surprised it didn't bring you out of your stupor. The screaming kept everybody up all night. Samuel closed his eyes again, trying to put the numbers together. Died 2 days ago, after making 4 days. If a belly wound took 4 days to kill, it happened the day of the fight. But Paul died 2 days ago. How long since they took the captives? Since the fight? 5, 6 days? You've been out 6 days. We like to not found you. And when we did, we almost left you. Thought you was with them raiders. Me? Why? Well, you wasn't with us, so we thought you was with them. But Carl did some thinking. Carl's my brother, and he's the one to think on things, and said, look how messed up your head was. They clubbed you, and look at the bullet hole in the Indian you killed. There's a honey of a little rifle you got. And how could you be with them and still get clubbed and shoot one of them? So we took you with us. I've been out 6 days, closer to 7, counting the night. And did you say we'd come 12 miles? Coop nodded. First 3 days, no, 4, we let to lay. Everybody thought you would die. There wasn't no sense dragging you. Then there was Paul with his belly wound. If we tried to move him, he would scream like a panther. We just rigged up a drag and started to pull you back of one of them oxen they left behind when they ran. All the bumping. Koo nodded and spit tobacco juice in the fire and listened to it hiss. We couldn't stay too long and thought you could die just as well dragging as you could lying up somewhere. If we'd left you, something would have come along and ate you. So here you are. My head. Coop nodded. Good cut from that tomahawk. Carl took some deer sinew he had and an old needle so he carries for fixing and sewed it right perfect. He said in case you lived, wouldn't be much of a scar across your forehead. Coop smiled and with some pride added, you come on to having green pus and everybody knew that was bad, so I made up a spit and baccy poultice and tied it on with a piece of rag. Pus cleared up in 2 days. So I've been laying for 6 days? Another nod. Coming on 7. Well, how? With a start, Samuel realized he didn't have any pants on underneath the coarse blanket that covered him. How come I'm not all messed up? We took your pants off, got them wrapped in a blanket and packed with your rifle. Indians must have been in a hurry, or he would have took it. Sweet little shooter you got also. Sweet little shooter like that. Also got your possibles bag and powder horn. What you feel under your rear is fresh grass. Anytime you messed, we just threw the old grass away and pulled in a half a foot of fresh new grass. Slick as a new calf, or maybe slick as a baby's bottom. Oh, gross. So he was gross. Maybe I should put my leggings on. Only if you ain't out of your head again. I don't think so. Suits me. I was the one that had to get the new grass all the time. You ain't nothing other than a little breath I got down you one time and saw and some water now and again. Man can go a long time without food, no time without he has some water. Interesting dialect. I'm starving, Samuel said automatically. But with the words came the feeling he realized he was hungry as he'd ever been. You'd ought to drink something soft first. Coop handed him a wooden bowl with a mixture of broth and meat. Go slow. This is from salted ox. They was cooking when we jumped them. Samuel took the bowl. He tried to drink slowly, but it was the taste and smell that hit him, and he couldn't gulp at it. Meat and all, so fast that he gagged and threw up. Slow, Coop repeated, coming back with a blanket roll and putting it on the ground next to Samuel. You'll founder if you don't go slow. Samuel started over, carefully. There was silence as he ate, chewing completely before swallowing small bites, small swallows. It's like fire, he thought, when you're cold. Fire moving through your body. He ate the first bowl, handed it to Coop, and watched him refill it, this time with broth and chunks of glistening fat, as well as meat. The second bowl he drank and ate more slowly than the first. And while he ate, he made a mental list of questions to ask when his stomach was full. Why are you here? How many of you are there? Where are you going? Is there any way you can help me find my mother and father? Are you, will you, can you do? Questions roaring through his mind. He finished eating. He lay back. He opened his mouth to ask the first question, and his eyes closed at the same instant, and he was immediately asleep. And the last thing he thought as he went under was that he still hadn't put on his pants. All right, communication, American spirit. Although poorly trained and weakly led and improperly fed, so badly that soldiers sometimes had to eat their shoes, the Americans took comfort from fighting on home soil and usually had much higher morale than the British. While they were often outnumbered and fought with inferior equipment, this spirit had an enormous effect, and they took the phrase, morale is to fighting as 4 is to 1, to the heart on the battlefields.